What about this? The company's Blackwell supercomputer chip, which has been the subject of conjecture regarding poor execution, lost opportunities, and less realistically, doubts about the true demand for AI hardware and a market rife with fakes, was clarified by CEO Jensen Huang. Jensen made the decision to rectify the situation. First, at his fireside chat with David Solomon, CEO of Goldman Sachs, during the FS/Citi Communicopia Plus Tech Conference, since NVIDIA has been the focus of a lot of controversy. We aren't telling the narrative correctly, according to the man I refer to as the Da Vinci, since he is a contemporary Renaissance man. In addition to being at the forefront of the generative AI movement, NVIDIA is also the industry leader in accelerated computing, where its GPUs will eventually replace nearly all of the older, slower chips. Then he made a statement that caused the stock to soar for days. NVIDIA's bears and ignorant critics have been claiming that the company's groundbreaking Blackwell chip is too difficult to produce and may not be able to be mass-produced before 2024. False. Yes, rate reductions just improve stock performance. Bottom line, rate reduction are fantastic, therefore I keep it simple. Small rate reductions are excellent because they convey confidence and pave the way for larger rate reductions in the future without inciting fear. I regret to say that those who were disappointed by the prospect of only one 25 basis point rate drop next week are completely uninformed. The stock of the $638 billion corporation, which you probably didn't realize was that large, has increased by about 23% so far this year. What is causing their shares to eventually roll over then? Due to a recent unfavorable narrative about AI. There is currently a general perception that the hyperscalers, those massive corporations also referred to as the Magnificent Seven, are overspending on AI infrastructure and that their expenditure is unsustainable. This is the number of people who read about NVIDIA's relative underperformance. Actually, NVIDIA, which have lately turned into the focal point of tech hatred, was what truly sparked things. How bad is it? I don't make this stuff up, all right. Today, there was a discussion on how long the NVIDIA stock market bad market will go. Even though it was down almost 30 points from its peak, they still failed to note that this stock is still the S&P 500's best-performing stock of the year. What took place to revive this dormant stock? The movements of stocks such as JP Morgan, Broadcom, and NVIDIA. It is dangerous to draw any conclusions other than the fact that they are struggling to produce at scale, given the visceral positive activity in the alternative energy stocks, which may be connected to Vice President Harris's position on carbon emissions during last night's debate. That makes perfect sense. However, the issue has essentially been resolved. It is a supply issue rather than a demand issue. Demand is soaring. The Fed is set to lower interest rates next week, and an easing cycle will boost the economy. Lastly, there are many who fear that we are on the verge of a recession, which could affect various digital devices and trickle down to the semis. Purchase, purchase, purchase. Additionally, Oracle gave us a very positive report this evening, with a lot of the positive news related to AI data centers. Well, not too awful. I believe that the semiconductor stocks have ultimately fallen off far too quickly. We still like this group for all the reasons we did earlier this year. As we learned from Oracle this evening, the AI investment boom is genuine and a significant amount of money is being invested to expand the infrastructure. More significantly, chips are not just about AI. The semiconductor sector has been experiencing oversupply over the past few quarters, and we are now at last witnessing some outstanding sales growth. Indeed, the point of equilibrium has passed. We're climbing. In July, the semis experienced a sequential sales gain for the fourth consecutive month. As we emerge from a supply glut, do you really want to leave this group? When you're entering one, you ought to do it. We should wait for the hot money to come out of that one, even though I would love to pound the table on NVIDIA. Before the stock truly plummets, too many sunny patriots and summer soldiers. Thanks, Thomas Paine. Need to raise the white flag. Today, I heard it referred to as no man's land. That's nice. Additionally, among the other chip manufacturers, you can discover greater reductions than NVIDIA. AMD predicted $2 billion in sales for 2024 when it announced the NI 300 last December. The product sales target was increased to $3.5 billion in late January and to $4 billion in late April. They raised it to $4.5 billion in July, the most recent time. What does AMD need to do to meet market demands? With a little sales and earnings beat and better than expected projections for the upcoming quarter, AMD's most recent quarter was actually rather solid overall. The announcement caused the stock to rise 4%. I was correct, but it was just before the market as a whole was destroyed by the collapse of the yen carry trade. People seem to have forgotten about that fantastic quarter. Oh, you're in the investment business. What do you think about NVIDIA? Is what everyone you meet, and I mean everyone. Some individuals are unaware of NVIDIA's existence. That seems to have cooled off a bit, don't you think so? Yes, but that's a good thing. The market is healthier as a result. It's GameStop. Because the person cutting our hair told us about GameStop, it seems like we should all own it. Not in my opinion. Thus, the dynamic remains the same. You need to have a more comprehensive plan, and the people purchasing these stocks are familiar with the firms we are purchasing. There are other purchases in addition to the S&P index, which is also rising. I'm not saying that NVIDIA earnings watch parties won't happen again because they will still happen, but it seems like some of the excitement surrounding them has subsided, which is a good thing. You may argue that that's good after all. In addition to the metacaps, a chipmaker has filed for an initial public offering, IPO. Perhaps Cerebras will challenge NVIDIA. That company was valued at $4 billion in the most recent fundraising round. Benchmark, Coatue, Altimeter, and Sam Altman are among the backers. They intend to list on the NASDAQ. I'm not sure, but according to the Buffo Fed today, the most owned semis are still comparatively underweight if you want to believe it. What do you think of the fact that the most owned semis are still comparatively underweight, Steph? I am aware of this. Well, that's what happens when you're at 8% of the S&P or 6%, 6.5% with NVIDIA, and 2% with Broadcom or whatever. That's almost 10% in two names. You can't be overweight after all, or your portfolio would consist of just 6 equities. Therefore, the statistic does not accurately reflect the opportunity that exists. It's being painted that way. In fact, I find it fascinating. In other words, I have been contributing to Lam Research and Broadcom regarding the types of reductions. Since they are erratic stocks, you get to see them occasionally, don't you? Therefore, I believe that Broadcom is simply the company I desired to wager on in comparison to NVIDIA. I mean, I still have a lot of up in it. Although it hasn't performed as well, I believe you can still earn a sizable sum of money. Broadcom's AI business is undoubtedly expanding 3 to 4 times, which is why I like them. However, they now have VMware, which essentially alters the situation in terms of software, margins, and free cash flow. That's the one I'm betting on, in my opinion. However, if it is true that individuals are underweight semis, I kind of enjoy that it's not a terrible indicator. The main reason is that they are underweight NVIDIA, which is like to stating that individuals are underweight Apple. Nearly everyone is, or underweight Microsoft. Again, really few are. I understand. What would it be now, though, if you tallied everything up? 14% of the S&P, I guess. It's a big number, so I'm not sure. Being overweight is challenging. Although it's premature for you to discuss this company in particular, at least it brings up the question of other businesses vying for a share of the AI market. How should we see these upstarts in comparison to industry titans like NVIDIA? Yes, indeed. As a result, NVIDIA faces competition in a lot of areas, which makes sense given the huge potential opportunity and the fact that all of the money is currently going to NVIDIA. Other merchant vendors like AMD or even Intel are available to you. You have startups as well as hyperscalers who produce their own goods, correct? And it's challenging for many companies, in my opinion. They lack size and an ecosystem. And if they make the pitch that we have a chip that's better than NVIDIA, I believe it's challenging because, as you may know, NVIDIA has a